Good morning, folks. We're gonna do a flip through of the Cruel Seas book. Sadly, you're gonna see my face a little bit because I'm gonna read through some pages, kind of give you a quick glimpse into what's in the book. Not necessarily a rules breakdown. We'll go into that maybe with some future videos about specifics. If there are some things y'all want to see played out, comment below. We'll put that in the queue for what we're gonna do, right? So first thing we're rolling through is the contents page. Last page, second to last page, is an index. We should be able to have no issues finding everything we need. Rolls in, it's got a brief introduction. Talks about the history of small ship combat. Some really cool surface submarine photos in there. Some basic, here's the parts of a ship, just generalizations. And then it goes into the core rules. Talks about a couple little requirements. You can identify what gun is carrying, i.e. you must be able to tell if it's a 6-pounder rather than just a gun. Must have a crew. Those fleet boxes are coming. Those fleet boxes you pre-ordered, they should have crews in them. And then they'll be available probably as a blister or something later on. Talks about the fleet dice, how to use the fleet dice. Talks about your ship cards. It's been already a few question and answers I've seen in some of the other groups about, oh, well, these secondary machine guns, where do I measure them from, and things like that. It tells you there's 2 MMGs, this is where it's located, and this is where it's located, and this is where you're measuring from. It's not like in bolt action where you measure from the front of the hull closest to it, and you're measuring from the weapon platform on the actual ship. So the placement of those weapons matters. If you upgrade your front or rear weapon system to a quad or a dual 20mm or whatnot, then you're measuring from there. It will also affect, because of the placement of the crew cabins and the command deck, where they could actually see and engage. It talks about ship weapons, ship speed, whether it's stationary, slow, combat, or full speed. All those will affect your shooting later on. Ship turning angles, red 45-degree angle or yellow 30-degree angle. The size of the ship depends on the size of the angle they can turn, and every time they move through a phase of the 3-phase movement, they can turn. Talks about ship damage, your hull damage, target numbers, inexperienced being 6s, regular 5+, veteran 4+. Kind of used to a little of this, but it seems the reverse to most of the other games as far as, in this game you want low numbers. The turn, so the turn mechanisms. Pull a fleet dice from the bag, assign a dice to ship issue orders, move the activated ship, fire the activated ship, resolve damage. It tells you how to pull the fleet dice, and they'll be in the bag. It's like the old activation dice. Just get a photo of them. You're gonna love it. Once you do activate, you get to pick your boat. Figure out what they're going to do, the movement of the speed. It talks about the knots and how that transitions to a third of the movement per the line on the measuring tape. The wake markers that are below or behind the ship, they slide up the ship to show whether or not it's slow, full speed, combat speed. Explains turning, which is super easy. You just need to know whether or not you're a small, medium, or large ship, and you'll be able to figure it out. Covers firing, covers the specifics to the measuring with the ruler from the weapon system. Can allocate targets to each of the guns. Measure from the gun position workout modifiers. See this page. Roll to hit, 1d10 per weapon system firing. To hit, a lot of the damage is based on cumulative 1d6s causing actual damage to the hull and stuff like that. And then roll the damage anything that's received. So quick range table. Machine gun, heavy machine gun, 20mm, 37-40, 3-pounder, all the same. 6-pounder, 57, all the same. 88, 3-inch, same. 4+ weapon systems, being bigger guns, probably on a destroyer or something, maybe. And then torpedoes, with a maximum range of 120 centimeters. Talks about your factor for rolling the hit. You roll for damage. There's very few modifiers. There's a little over a dozen modifiers. But most of them, when I say that, is because, like, your veteran status is inexperienced. Regular veteran, so that's 3 of the dozen, right? And most people are going to field the ship or a fleet of similar experience levels. So it would be really quick. On point blanks, whether or not you're stationary or moving, whether or not the target's stationary or moving. So it really is only actually 1, 2, 3, 6, plus the bonus of a fire director, or if it has more than 3 plumes, the little sploosh markers on it. So not as much as I first made it sound. Damage table, how much damage each of the weapon systems cause. For example, a torpedo causing 16d6 versus a machine gun causing 1d6. Torpedo's gonna hurt. A couple cool little ways for recording damage and things of that nature. How to launch a torpedo, the arming distance and range of torpedoes. Rolling to see if a torpedo hits, roll to see if it's a dud, roll for damage. Torpedo hit table, talks about duds again, the damage, and then boom, you're right into scenario 1. What's the basic rules? There's only a few pages, like a couple pages. Scenario 1 is ships in the night. Both teams are out there. They've exhausted the torpedoes from hunting all day. They're trying to make it home and get some whatever, some biscuits and gravy. I don't know, some hot tea, soup, wherever. And they run into each other, so it's fast and dirty. Pop off rounds and get off the board. Very basic. It even gives you could run points. Nothing saying you couldn't run points, but it encourages you that the British Royal Navy, because they're assuming you're using the starter, rolls out with 2 Vospers, and Craig's Marine gets 1 S-100. That's kind of for the balance factor. But you could run points. You could say, hey, we're doing 200 points. Hey, we're doing 150 versus 150. Let's just cruise through. Or you could just take these, because all you're doing is learning the mechanics in the scenario and run through. So number 2 is a torpedo run. Again, it gives you either 1 E-boat or 2 Vospers. And roll through and take it. And the idea is to sink the tanker. So one person's escorting, the other one's task is to sink the tanker. And this is a little cardboard cutout tanker. The other one's for sale. Some of you already grabbed them online in the carts, but if not, you just learn the fundamentals. Then scenario 3 is the rescue. 1 boat will be stuck in the center of the board, and then you kind of get a attacker coming in from 2-point sentry, and a rescue party coming from the 3rd. And one of the ships in the rescue party has reduced capability because it's increased its space to take the crew. Any of the ships could actually take the crew, but there's a little bonus to recovery time if the ship that's prepared to take the crew actually takes the crew, and they got to slow down and pass by the ship and pick them up. If it's not that ship and it's one of your regular gunships, you just got to pretty much stop to allow that time to transfer, and it doesn't go as smoothly as the ship that's prepared for the rescue operation. All this while the enemy's trying to get in there. And this is one of those things where when you're playing campaigns and stuff, you have the opportunity to maybe capture a ship and see how that affects things. So that's the 3rd one. And then it gets a little more into the advanced rules. Talks about the ship card layouts more, where your faction fleet symbols, your point values, your critical ship damages, the differences of inexperienced crews, regular crews, veteran crews, ship sizing being small, medium, large, and huge. Huge being large landing crafts, frigates, battleships, and liberty ships. Talks about the turning mechanisms again as kind of a refresher. Talks about some movement, special things like going astern, crossing a wake. This can be really bad if you're a little ship. Collision damage, which can be bad for everybody. You can also hit terrain, let alone other ships. Ramming, veterans, I believe, are the only ones that can actually intentionally attempt to ram. But it's probably not going to be good for anybody, but it'll be fun to see. The ability to dodge. The ocean's a big place. When you're firing stuff from super far away and trying to charge at them from nautical miles away, and they see you, they have a good chance of adjusting. Whether or not you're firing, ramming ships can't fire because they know what's about to happen, so they're all holding on to everything they can. There's a collision ramming damage table. Talks about plumes, the markers. Again, if the ship's stationary and you shoot, they start to pile up. But the second that ship moves or the end of the turn, those plumes go away. We cover weapons again. The Orphan torpedoes, the Japanese long lances, which are special torpedoes. Japanese players will only read those. Critical damage, saving against critical damage. There's critical damage chart. And the last one, if it's not a torpedo, then it drops down to the next one, right? How to repair, how to issue repairs, the repair chart. You're looking at like just a regular crew. Take a regular crew, for example. You repair 1d6, no critical effects. You repair 3d6 or remove 1 critical effect, depending on if you're moving or if you're stationary. And you gotta be going slow or not moving. But like some of the critical hits are an engine hit. You get an engine token, reduces your maximum movement by 1/3. Take 3 of these, you're not moving. Bridge hits, rudder hits, stutter, steering hits, fuel hits, gun hits, you lose weapon system. Accessory hits, whether it's radar, radio, searchlight, smoke generators, depth chargers. Crew hits, ammunition hits, which can end up causing out of action and things like that. Then there's a section on strike the flag, where it's like if you try to surrender. And they're obliged to take it unless they take a skill test. And if they pass a skill test, they just keep shooting you. And that's the raising of the flag, which historically they did on a few occasions to surrender. And then we talk about the special things like the fire director, star shell, smoke screens, depth charges, briefly covered before, searchlights, mines, both mines that can be in play at the start of the game, and then mines that you can put out as you're going. And the mines are broken down by magnetic and pressure mines, contact mines. There's some degaussing equipment. And that goes into additional scenarios. Spy boats, destroy a convoy, ambush, an invasion scenario. One that's called turkey shoot. And then there's a very brief section on terrain. It's covering the shoal shorelines, small islands, sandbanks, lighthouses, wrecks, foxwall. And by wrecks, they're, you gotta remember, like in the channels and everything like that, not necessarily open seas. If a ship did get hit, there's a chance that it's gonna kind of like linger and float over and then get stuck on some higher shoals and or corals or something in that area. So it may not necessarily go down like a huge frigate out there that took 3 torpedoes to its hull and is massively taking on water and splits in half and goes down. There's a chance that your small arms fire and they go and drift because they're trying to bail out all this water, and then pumps fail or whatever, and they end up on some sort of elevated terrain that's in the water. So it still could be stationary above, and then in which case they provide a blockage of cover to both parties involved. And then something about terrain reminded me to talk about torpedoes. So the small crafts, there's like no historical record that they found of a small craft getting hit by a torpedo. Probably because they never surfaced, displaced enough of the water to where a torpedo would actually impact it. They have to get under the water, the rudders of the torpedo itself projecting itself, possibly going right under them every single time. So that's factored into this. So small ships have a really good chance of not getting hit by a torpedo. Just something to think about when you're building your fleets. And some people are going to try to make this a torpedo game. It's not all about torpedoes. Especially if you make a fleet where a portion of your fleet can't be affected by torpedoes, it would completely eradicate their torpedo capability. It talks about heavy seas, like bad weather. Then there's the tiny boats. The Japanese are going to have a lot of tiny boats. And Kriegsmarines are going to have a couple. Talks about different types of special boats, weapon systems, rockets, mortars, flamethrower, some very fancy ones. Very brief chapter about aviation, attack runs. You're paying a couple points, 30 to 40 points for a plane. Runs in, it's like a Stuka dive bomb, or it's a Japanese torpedo craft coming in and taking that one shot and going off. But there's the misidentification portion, like with similar games, flat capability, all those good stuff. Barrage balloons, torpedo attacks, Chapter on submarine warfare.